This is the Impressions Xchange podcast.
Impressions Xchange podcast,
where all topics impacting the graphic imaging and printing industry are addressed via in-depth news coverage, analysis, and timely interviews.
Welcome to the Impressions Xchange podcast. We've had roundtable discussions on this show before, but we wanted to do a little something different this time. On this episode, we will have 3 guests, all of them new contributors to Printing Impressions for 2026. The first guest you will hear from is brand new for this year, while the next 2 guests you'll recognize as having been contributors to our brand in the past, and they're back for the new year. I spoke with each of them individually to find out who they are, what they plan on covering in their new Printing Impressions content, and I got to know them on a more personal level, and you will too. Stay tuned for our first guest. First up is Emily Jepez, Vice President of Sandler by Performance Partners. She is a master sales trainer, and she's kicking off this episode as our newest content creator. She will be bringing sales tips to print service providers in her new series, Making Sense of Sales. Emily, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course, happy to be here.
Happy to have you. So you have a new series that is on Printing Impressions now, and we're calling it Making Sense of Sales, which is really exciting. So can you talk to me about that? Tell me about the new video series. What do you plan to cover, and what do you hope to achieve with this content?
Yeah, so the video series is a little bit of a combo of a short clip of video that will give you some sort of sales principle, that whatever it is the one that we're discussing at the moment. And then in the written part that goes with it, we're taking that sales principle and really bringing it to life on what it means for someone in the printing industry. So broadly speaking, printing industry, right? Looking at a few different verticals. But the purpose of it, and the reason it's called Making Sense of Sales, is that sales is both an art and a science. And when we think about sales theory, there are a lot of places where the theory and the reality really collide. And if salespeople don't know what to do when that happens, that's where we see things fall apart. And what I'm really known for in my sales training and coaching business is that very much reality-based, practical approach to, for example, okay, so theory will tell you you have to get in front of the ultimate decision maker. Where reality is, there's often, especially in more complex sales, multiple decision makers. You likely will not get access to all of them. And so therefore, what is your playbook? What's your plan B? What's your plan C? And so I hope to give people some confidence and even relief and clarity that around these little tweaks that they can kind of refine how they're thinking about their own sales process and skills.
Perfect. And I love it. I love that there's kind of that practical, application of how you can really apply these skills to your business. So, we know there's a lot of sales and marketing content out there. Some is directed to the printing industry, some is just general. But how would you say that you differentiate your content?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first of all, printing is the industry is something that I personally have a lot of clients in and work in. So I actually started my career selling print advertising, worked for a publishing house. That's where I really kind of honed my skills. And I think, I was selling print advertising as recently as 2019, and we were up year over year. So I feel like that's something to be proud of. But that is something that is part of my background. And then now that I am exclusively selling sales training and training people, a lot of our clients are within that industry. So paperboard packaging, flexible packaging, commercial printers, really a variety of different types of printing. So what makes it different, I would say, is that we work with clients that are anything from kind of like smaller mom and pop printing, like commercial printing houses, to those who are maybe transitioning from doing maybe strictly commercial printing and brochures and direct mail and things like that, to evolving into maybe they're now doing paperboard packaging. And so they bring us in for that transition of going up market. to those who are already and have been selling it very large deals to, the multinational organizations that are out there. So I think what makes my content unique is that I have a perspective of how the sales dynamic really plays out at all of these different levels, because although there are differences, of course, in an enterprise sale versus kind of a local shop, at the end of the day, people are selling to people. And a lot of sales is really understanding the human psychology of the buyer and the human psychology of the seller and how those things interact, whether it's a small job or a big job.
I love that. I love that perspective. So now I want to ask you a few fun things.
Okay.
Just so we get to know you as a person, not just as a contributor. So what do you like to do in your spare time?
What do I like to do in my spare time? I would like to make it part of my life's work to normalize and celebrate doing nothing.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, could we just decide? I mean, I think Gen Z is onto something with the bed rotting and deciding
Mhm.
that rotting is something that we celebrate. That's their word for it. But I've
Mhm.
been doing it. I'm an elder millennial and I've been doing it for a very long time, except usually, it's coming in on a Monday and people saying, "What did you do over your weekend?" And I'm saying, "I did nothing." And that's exactly what I wanted to do. And rather than, oh, like feel bad for me, I want you to feel excited for me,
I love
you
that.
know?
I love that. First of all, I love that goal. And also I probably in similar age range as you, and I have taken up like cross stitching and embroidery,
Yes.
and I like to just like sit on the couch and like do those activities. It's
I
so
want to be
soothing.
home with my hobbies and
Yeah.
my dogs and my
Yes.
kid. Yes.
Okay. So you have so you said you mentioned you have a dog. What type of
Yes, 2
dog do you
dogs.
have? Okay.
I have 2 black and white pitty mutt rescue things. One is a daddy's girl. She's 13, a little senior. She's a very grumpy old lady. And then I have a 5-year-old boy who is my soulmate. My husband is aware of it. It's fine. We have an understanding. And then I have a 9-year-old little girl, actual human child,
Okay.
and she's spectacular.
Wonderful. Okay, I was going to ask because you mentioned children too. I was
Yeah,
going to ask about that.
yeah.
And I too have a pity mix, so
Oh, they're
there's a
so
place in my
good.
heart for that. Do
Shelter dog.
you? Yeah. Do you like books, movies? What do you?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not much of a movie watcher because I get like I don't know. I can't sit still that long and I don't know. But I love to read myself to sleep every night.
I do too.
Love to.
Yep. What
It's
type
like
of?
the Kindle because the Kindle with the paper white, it doesn't mess with your sleep.
Like the
And
blue light.
yeah, and there's no other way to go to sleep. I don't know how other people fall asleep, to be honest.
I agree.
I
I
don't-
same way. I fall asleep reading a book every night. Do you have specific genres you like?
Historical fiction all
Okay.
day.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you like
Historical
Kristen
fiction.
Hanna?
Oh my God. She is indeed my favorite. Indeed.
Yes.
She is
Love Kristen
the favorite.
Hanna.
I
Love that.
mean, ugly tears sometimes, because she can really like grab your heart and squeeze it,
Yeah.
um, but God,
Yeah. And
she's
this is
amazing.
not a paid ad by Kristen Hanna, but
No,
yes,
The
she's
Great Alone is my favorite of hers.
oh, I
Have you
have
read
not
that one?
read that one yet. No.
Oh, it's about Alaska, like living in Alaska
Yeah.
as a
Yes.
non-Alaskan.
Yeah. So I do have it. I just haven't read
Oh,
it. And it is on my list to read. But The Women's my favorite actually. I
the
love The
women.
Nightingale too, but The Women.
Yes.
It's a great one.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes. All of the above.
For anyone listening, if
Not
you
paid
read
ad.
them, let us know what you think because
Yeah.
great
You'll
book.
cry,
Yeah.
but you'll love it too. You'll be so glad you're crying.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Emily, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us to get to know you a little bit. And I'm very much looking forward to your new video series and your contributions to the printing industry.
Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Next up, we have the legendary Deb Korn, who is back in action creating content for Printing Impressions. You probably know her as the intergalactic ambassador to the Printerverse at Print Media Center. but she is also a veteran advertising print producer, international speaker and blogger, and she knows a thing or two about attracting the next generation of talent to the printing industry. Her new blog series is called Cultivating Captivating Careers. Deb, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashley, and thank you for welcoming me back to Printing Impressions.
Of course, I'm so happy to have you back to Printing Impressions, and we've known each other for a while, but this is actually the first time that I've had you on this podcast, so very exciting. And it's to talk about the fact that you are a new old contributor. You're not technically a new contributor.
A returning champion.
A returning champion. Yes, I love that. Okay, so you're a returning champion. And you have a new channel on Printing Impressions that is called Cultivating Captivating Careers. So can you talk to me about that new blog and like, what do you plan to cover? What do you hope to achieve with this content?
My main goal is to focus on attracting people to the printing industry, not just filling jobs. So I want to explore, what makes working in print compelling today, from all the different roles and responsibilities to the state-of-the-art technology and the problem solving and the opportunities for growth that really do exist inside print businesses and the industry in the greater sense. I think that in a lot of ways that, thinking about skills first rather than the job titles or an industry background actually widens the pool for people who might be interested in working in print. For example, I've always felt that journalists would be a great fit for new business development because they're curious, they're strong researchers, they're skilled communicators, which translates into identifying prospects with quality prospects, building client briefs, supporting the sales team with communication, and even contributing to marketing or website content through internships or partnerships. So it might sound crazy for a printing company to look at creating a internship with a journalism department, but I don't think it's so crazy. I think we have to start looking at things like that. So the goal is really to help print shop owners and senior leaders see new possibilities for attracting people and to reposition print as a modern technology, forward-thinking, creative, and dynamic industry that people should want to be part of.
Yeah, I love that. I love the point of kind of looking for skills that can be applied to, what print service providers do. It made me think of, there was an example. I went to a print shop and they had a few marketing kind of interns, and they happened to have this program in place where they had those interns go around and spend time in each of the departments. And even though they came from like a marketing, content creation side of the world, they're now working for a printing company, and I don't know exactly what role they're in. They might still be doing marketing, or they might be doing something else. So I love that kind of thinking outside the box point that you brought up. I think it's really important. So can you maybe expand on that and why it's important to address the workforce and the next gen?
So first, I want the word development removed from our conversation. And I want to reframe it as workforce attraction, because that is what the problem is. Workforce attraction matters because too many industries, including print, focus on developing people who are already interested instead of creating an interest in the first place. And I'm sorry, but look at the world that we live in. We see the news. You write the news about the school programs closing or shrinking, or the industry is throwing tons of money trying to get people interested in print, and headline breaking news, it's not exactly working, So workforce development assumes that there's people that want to come into the industry, and then we're going to help them develop their careers. But attraction is about sparking curiosity and desire, especially among people who would never have considered print as a career option. And I will tell you, as someone who has recorded almost 800 podcasts, mostly every single person I speak to in the printing industry, uh, print found them. They did not look for print, you know. And I am one of those people, by the way. I used to work in advertising. So, an an analogy that I like to use is that the Eiffel Tower is essentially a lamppost with great PR, right?
Right.
And print, by comparison, is perceived like a torch in a cave, like it's an ancient way of lighting a space. But in reality, print is a state of the art technology. It's creative, it's dynamic, but that is not the story that most people see from the outside. Much of the conversations that we have about print happens inside an echo chamber. And between the schools, the print shop, and the industry all talking to each other, fantastic. Aren't we great? Let's give everybody a participation trophy for sponsoring an event with students or letting the students come to an event or anything like that. But it doesn't change how print is perceived by people outside of the industry, which is a big problem, because addressing workforce attraction is about changing the perception of what print is, what the industry is, all the facets of it, from the people who think of the ideas to the people who hang them up on skyscrapers, or how the graphic gets on the side of a truck, or how something really cool and personal to you gets to you in the mail, and how much how many people are involved in all of that. So our goal should really be, in my opinion, not to focus on this pipeline that is waning, and to focus on all the rest of the people on planet Earth who don't see print as a place with opportunity, relevance, or unfortunately, a future that they'd want to be part of. And they should want to be part of the printing industry. Whenever I have the fortunate situation of being able to speak with students, I'm always like, listen, if you want to work in Google, there's no reason you can't work in the printing industry. And I don't necessarily mean a printing business, but there are manufacturers that have more technology going on, and research and development. And there's ink chemists and engineers. And there is literally a job for everybody in the printing industry if you look at the entire graphics chain.
Mhm. Absolutely. No, that's perfectly said. And even those who are maybe interested in AI or interested in, new ways to, I mean, we're just talking about marketing before, but like marketing, like there are so many different facets of printing companies that, like you said, like it's has this bad PR that it's this old, archaic, ancient type of process, but it's
Right.
so many companies out there are doing cutting edge, just incredible things. Um, and yeah, very well said.
Well,
So,
if I can just add one more
yeah,
thing.
please.
I remember during the pandemic, there were so many printers who were mad at Amazon because Amazon kept raising their hourly rate, and nobody cared. They're like, for $35, I'll stuff a box. I don't care. I'll do anything. I don't have a job, right? Now Amazon has just laid off thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Mhm.
This is the time for the print shop to say, okay, if somebody has just been working on a supply chain, has been fulfilling orders, has been making sure that everything that's supposed to be delivered between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. is accounted for, why can't they do the same thing in a fulfillment place, or in a large operation that has mailing? I mean, there are so many people out there who have been displaced from other industries. And I really don't think that the printing industry even considers them for employment. Well, I've got to train them. Okay. When I used to hire people, I prefer people that I could train than people who came in with the idea of how they wanted to do things
Right.
instead of the way I wanted them done.
Yeah, that's a great point. Um, and I think going back to one of your points earlier, kind of looking for those skills and not necessarily saying like, I need to fill this role, so I need to find someone who already has those skills. So really great point. So I want to take now a little bit of time to get to know you, Deb, as a person outside of the printing industry. So tell me what you like to do in your spare time, if you have any spare time, when you're
Well, I
not
thought,
creating
yeah.
content or
Well, I actually thought that was an interesting question because I was like, spare time is that really, such a thing? But I actually don't think about it that way. I'm always collecting ideas, whether it's listening to podcasts or watching movies or keeping up with current events or business and brand news. I love reading about the brands because I feel that there's always some way to look at what they're doing and extrapolate a strategy or a message or a trend that is emerging. So, in doing that, I'm constantly looking for how to connect those outside things to spark a different way to talk about print or careers or customer relationships or sales. One of my favorite sources of inspiration is actually movie opening credits.
oh,
The
okay.
typography and the design choices in those titles have directly been evolved, let's say, to influence artwork that I've created for events, for blogs, for industry content. So for me, inspiration, it doesn't turn off. It's about staying curious and translating what I see or do in the outside world into something relevant for my work, which is, floor ceiling, home office, person who works, person who doesn't. Like it's all happening in the same chair that I'm sitting in right now. So, um, you know, it's hard for me to separate it because even when I'm traveling, I'm like, oh, I've got an idea for something. So, in my spare time, I'm not creating content, but I'm thinking about how to connect print to the modern world as much as possible in ways that the customers and the end users and the consumers can embrace. Oh, I get that.
Mhm.
Oh, I want that.
Right. Yeah, and I connect with that. I just had a recent example of something very similar where there's um an injury lawyer here in Philly who has billboards and they stick out. I've always noticed them on 95, and I just recently found out that he has commercials on the radio that are like the best performing commercial. One of the like local radio stations is like, people call in about these commercials all the time. So I started looking him up, and his social media presence, he's done like music videos with local artists. He's done so many things as part of this like omni-channel campaign for his law firm. And I was like, wow, I have got to reach out to this person. So I actually just reached out to them because I want to talk about the fact that they're doing this like kind of omni-channel campaign that includes massive eye-catching billboards all up and down 95 around
And why
Philadelphia.
is that, Ashley? Because when you need a lawyer, who are you going to think? Who are you going to
Hmm.
remember?
Hmm. Yeah.
Who's going to come to your mind first? We have one of those around here. It's called Morgan and Morgan. They're everywhere.
Oh, yes. Actually, Morgan and Morgan is another one that has billboards on 95. And they have like Philly specific lingo kind of on the billboard. So that's another one. But this is a
Yeah.
different guy. And he just does a really great job with the rest of his marketing. But I think what gets you started is seeing the billboards.
Yeah, of
So
course. Yeah.
yeah. So even when my mind isn't, creating content or in the printing industry kind of space, I'm still seeing those things and like, ooh, how can I like, kind of use that in the future, or like, use that as inspiration or talk to someone about that.
Well,
Um,
I think that that's the difference between like passion, like true passion, slash obsession, and people who are doing a job. I
right.
think, there's a big difference. And I don't understand how someone just like leaves their office and turns off their brain and now everything else is not in the office. I'm not saying I don't aspire to something like that. Sounds like a very relaxing life, but I have not achieved that nirvana at the moment.
Mhm.
Printing United Alliance is the leading member-based printing and graphic arts association in North America with over 70 years of history and more than 20,000 members worldwide. We're here to support printing professionals like you with the tools, resources, and information you need to grow your business, sharpen your skills, and expand your network. Whether you're a printer, supplier, student, or educator, we've built our community to serve everyone who's passionate about the future of print. An Alliance membership is a smart, cost-effective way to stay current on the latest trends, connect with industry leaders, and give your business the competitive edge it deserves. Head over to printing.org/membership to learn more about the memberships we offer. Let's move the printing industry forward together.
So I know you mentioned movies, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Is there a recent movie that you've seen that you really liked?
I actually watched that movie. I think it was called The Rip. It was with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. It was on Netflix or whatever, and I was just like, okay, it's new. Let me watch it. It was surprisingly interesting.
Okay.
It had a couple of twists and turns that were like, whoa, okay. I'm usually pretty good at saying like within the first 5 minutes they did it, or whatever it was. But this one I was wrong 3 times.
Okay. All right. So I have seen them doing the promo for it. They've been kind of on the promo trails.
I'm telling you, it's not like I was like, when I can't wait till this movie comes out. It was like, okay, saw this. Because most of the time I just binge watch RuPaul's Drag Race because it's the only thing that makes me happy.
Love that. Well, Deb, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you so much for your time. And thank you so much to everybody who's listened to this, and check out my blog on printing impressions.
Finally, we have Dr. Ryan T. Sowers, president of End Results Media and Sowers Consulting Strategies. Ryan is also a returning content creator, this time taking a good hard look at leadership strategies in his new blog series, The Leadership Mirror. He brings more than 30 years of experience in consulting and teaching, and recently received his doctorate in organizational leadership. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. So glad to be here. Ashley.
Yeah, happy to have you. So you are one of our new old contributors. So you're returning to us, but with a slightly different, a new blog series and a slightly different angle. So you used to cover kind of like the sales side of things, but now your focus is leadership. And your blog is called The Leadership Mirror. So can you tell me about that series? What do you plan to cover and what do you hope to achieve with this content?
Yeah. It's being 30 years of leadership in our industry and then 30 years of studying a ton of leadership. Leadership Mirror just made a lot of sense to me. It's really looking at the blind spots that we get so busy in our industry that we don't see. The first article I wrote recently was about silence, and sometimes we think silence means approval, and it doesn't per se. I'm going to talk about things like intent versus impact of our communications, because communications is going to be at the crux of everything we talk about in leadership. It's one of the tenets of what it's built on. We're going to talk about over communication. When we think of over communication, we think of talking more, texting more, emailing more, and that's not it. It's a matter of we actually under communicate in our society. We have people who don't respond, forget to respond, lose things, can't remember things. So in the Leadership Mirror, we're going to be, asking these questions to make people take a hard look at how they lead, and and really asking the question, hey, if I have a quote unquote the title of a leader, do people really want to follow me, or are they following me because they have to? So I would argue in this series, I'm going to ask, fun but hard questions in that. It's like, are people following me because they want to and be part of this, or because they have to per se? And then being clear, concise, understandable, again, being in the crux of communications and leadership. It's just so important. I mean, our world, I keep saying it, I feel like every decade I say it, but every decade more, it's noisier and faster and this and that. And so how we empower people around us and making sure that everybody's on the same page has never been more important than 2026 and beyond.
Great. Love your points there.
So
tell me then, what differentiates you as an expert on leadership?
And I won't, I know a lot of people don't care, but, after 30 years of, I think one thing is, number one, A differentiator would be, I've run printing graphics companies, run, in our industry, run promotional products and visual communications company. And then I have spent a number of years consulting with printing graphics companies. So I've been on that side of the table. And then the third part of the chair, Ashley, would be I spent the last 13, 14, 15 years now owning 2 publications, working with a variety of graphics and printing companies and seeing interesting things, good, bad, and ugly. And so I've been a buyer, I've been a seller, and I've been a consultant. And I would put that with then, for the people that actually care, I decided to further studies and finish my doctorate in organizational leadership. And the only that's important for people listening is that I studied why people succeeded or failed at the 5-year mark of starting small businesses and interviewed a number of people. And it was a fascinating study. So, what's making those leaders and those organizations successful, and it totally applies to our industry as well.
And you're teaching too, right?
I am. It's one of my, when you get the doctorate, everybody says, hey, come teach what you know. And it's all about everything. I think you know me well enough. It's about the real world. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and, you'll see it in the byline, but I don't sit here and talk about the doctorate as much, but it was a lot of my life. So I have to talk about it. But yeah, I'm working with a lot of Gen Z. And I just want to say, with my experience, people often say, these people can't, all they do is the TikTok generation. All they do is look at their phone. All they do, they can't think, blah, 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 blah. And I'm here to tell you, after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of the last few years, I want to tell our audience, been able to teach people how to write successful emails, how to stay off their phone for 45 to 50 minutes, how to get up and present in front of their peers, how to get up and write, the written and verbal words, so important, and we do as, the visual communications industry. And yet people think they're just going to get a degree for X. So I've just said, hey, you know what? This generation is really smart. They're just smart, like a lot of other generations where we all look at different generations, right? And we have to tap into that. And I see a lot of disconnect in my consulting work with people coming into the workforce and what they're looking for, and then people writing them off right away, like, oh, they're just lazy and entitled and just want to look everything up on TikTok. And I'm telling you, after doing boots on the ground, that's not true. I mean, for the most part, but we have to figure out what makes them tick. And then we have to figure out how to plug them in, that they're not going to get a trophy right away. But I've seen success, and it's actually kind of fun, to be honest. I'm really enjoying it.
Awesome. Thank you for that perspective. So, maybe can you tell us a little bit about why you think, I know you commented on it already a little bit, what your series is going to offer those who are reading it, but how do you think further this content is going to help business leaders in the printing industry? If you could drill it down.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want them to, this is not a judgment series. This is not a whatever, being especially a leader, who is designed, we all can be leaders. I mean, leadership, anybody, I always say all the time, you don't have to have a title to be a leader. But in particular, when you get to executive management, if you will, I want people to reflect on, just because they have a title, or just because they've been brought up in a printing company, or just because they're second or third generation, doesn't mean they don't have to look at things in new ways. It doesn't just mean, hey, we've diversified from just printing to all these other vertical and horizontal businesses. At the crux of all of it is, how are we treating our people? Are we bringing our people along? Are we bringing them on in 2026? And some companies do great. Other companies may want to do great, but they're not even certain that they're doing anything wrong. And other companies are not even aware. And so I want people to have these kind of columns where I'm putting these thoughts out in the mirror. And it's why I named it that was, if you look yourself and do a hard look in the mirror, I think we all find things we're proud of, things we want to get better at, and then things, hey, maybe we need to take a look at that. Maybe we could do that better. And so the columns are going to be designed to, I mean, it could be the guy that's running the pallet jack on the floor, the warehouse guy, it can be the CEO. But how do we treat people? How do we do things? How do we bring them to our industry? And how do we be the very, very best at what we can do? I often tell people, when I'm teaching these younger people, they want to be a finance or accounting major, I'm like, you can be the best guy with numbers. Same thing with running a piece of equipment. But if you can take your communication and leadership skills, you're going to be in that top 10 percentile just by doing that. And that's where I'm going to write a lot of thought-provoking columns, not to judge, but to make people think at what I call below the iceberg, deep level, WHY level mindset. And, and some of them might say, this is great. I'm already doing all this, and that's fantastic. And some people might say, I didn't think about it. And some people said, hey, it wasn't even on my radar. And that's as the series gets going and feedback gets going, I might going to continue to get more, but it's really going to be a mirror and make people think, I hope, at a deeper level.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that concept because I know, I've heard before that there's a difference between someone who's, in management, who's managing a team, and then a leader. Leader's someone people actually want to follow, which I think, you mentioned at the beginning, like, do people actually want to follow you? So I think it's, important that you make that distinction.
Well, I was going to just tell you, I'm going to tease it out there, but I am starting to work on a third book. I can't put the name out yet, but the people who are watching the Leadership Mirror article series through Printing Impressions are going to see teasers that are going to be slowly coming out. And it's going to get at this thing. There are a lot of people in quote unquote management that could not lead their way out of a paper bag. And then there's people that could be in a person running a piece of equipment that everyone follows, everyone respects, and they may not have the title or responsibility, but people would follow them anywhere. And that's a leader without the title. And I think that's an important distinction.
So now, just a little fun question, so our audience can get to know you a little better. What do you like to do? Like, do you like to travel? What books do you like? Do you like movies?
I do. I love binging shows. My youngest daughter is now in college, so we're empty nesters, and we have moved near to the ocean. I'll just leave it at that. And I love travel. We got some travel planned coming up in a few months. Love sports, always have. Love binging movies, shows, watching that. Love music. Love where we live. There's a ton of great voices and music. Dustin actually made it really, really far on The Voice. He's become a good friend of mine and got to hear him play the other night. And so, yeah. And, I will say the one thing I've fallen a little short on is reading. The dissertation about killed me. I think I read enough that I told my wife it has to be, books I can get back into because, I do so much reading in a day, but I do love reading, but it's just my eyes started giving out on me. So, but no, those are some fun things. But yeah, I do really, really love travel and the fun and again, being by the beach is amazing, and I'm just really happy about that.
I agree. I love being at the beach. What's your favorite, if you like to travel, then what's your favorite place to go?
Well, what got us to where we were, I mean, if we just leave it in the United States, is I loved the time we went on 2 different times, the Key West vibe. And the whole just, you're just sitting in somewhere, and if you're having a coffee or a cocktail, you can be next to a multimillionaire or a homeless person. And I had no idea which was which. And that's the vibe we moved towards. And, I really want to get back to Europe. I want to get back to some other places. But right now, I've been immersing being a few blocks from the beach. And I got to be honest with you, I have to pinch myself every day. It's been awesome. But there's so many places, Ashley, that, I've either been and want to go back, or, now that, we are empty nesters to go and take my wife to that she didn't get to see. But yeah, we were planning an East Coast trip this summer to try to hit 6 baseball games over the summer coming up towards the Northeast. And unfortunately, I think the World Cup games are on top of it. So hotel rooms got out. So we're going to push that to next summer. But it's something we love to have fun and love to go to those places. And next big one is a cruise out, I think, in early May. And we're looking forward to that, going to some cool places.
Well, enjoy. Thank you so much. And we'll be chatting soon.
Ashley, thank you. It's my pleasure.